I created the DougScore, which is the rating system I use for all of the cars that I test and review. Before I dive into the DougScores, I chose these 22 because they're the most interesting, the most exciting, the ones with the most views, the most popular, and in some cases, the most ridiculous. Starting, as usual, with the weekend categories and styling, here's where the 22 cars I'm ranking have fallen. Getting a 10 in styling is really hard. In fact, only one car has gotten a 10 before this, and that was the Ferrari F40. To me, the 2005 Ford GT and the Ferrari F5 also deserve this number. The other high scores probably won't surprise you too much, and yes, I think the Ferrari 4 is more attractive than the Lamborghini Huracan. As for the lower scores, well, I don't think I really have to explain those. The San Murano Cross, and I think we can all agree that the Yugo ain't exactly much better. I still haven't given out a 1 for styling, simply because that number is reserved for the Shenyang Rodius. Next up is acceleration, and as you may know, I do acceleration based on an objective metric using 0 to 60 times that's listed on my... 3 cars did 0 to 60 in under 3 seconds, which earned them a 10 out of 10. The Lamborghini Huracan, the Aventador SV, and the new Ford GT. A lot of other cars came close, and a lot of other cars did very poorly, although it's worth noting that a 1 out of 10 simply means over 7 seconds 0 to 60, which isn't that bad for a normal car. But also, it's worth noting that a 1 is the lowest score you can get, even if you're the Trabant, which I don't even think can go 60, which almost deserves a 0 here. Next, we move on to handling. 3 cars got a perfect score out of this group of 22. The Lamborghini Huracan has maybe the most precise steering I've ever felt. The new Ford GT basically feels... The Carrera GT is just so predictable. It gets a perfect 10 also. The amazingly serene and pleasant 1996 Rolls-Royce Silver Spur, who earns its 3 cars. At the bottom of the list, 3 cars got a 1. The usual Trabant, alongside the horrible Ferret armored car and the BMW Isetta, which strongly deserves its terrible score. Next up is the cool factor. Once again, before this video, only 1 car had ever gotten a 10 in this category, and that was the Ferrari F40. This time, 3 more cars get the perfect score. The Porsche Carrera GT and the new Ford GT need no explanation. The Lamborghini LM002, meanwhile, may be subject to I've always thought was insanely cool, and one of the few cars that would even make me, who's seen everything and driven everything, stop. It's also hard to get a 9 in cool factor, but the Mercedes SLR, the 2005 Ford GT, the Lamborghini Diablo 6.0, and the Aventador SV did just that. At the bottom of the list is the Murano Cross Cabriolet. Still, it doesn't deserve a 1 in cool factor, as that's reserved for the Chrysler PT Cruiser. Next up is importance, which measures a car's significance, or put another way, how much you'd want to see the car in a museum if you were creating one. If this category went up to 11, the Carrera GT would be that 11, the very last analog supercar that will probably ever exist. There are also some 9s here, and yes, that includes the Trabant. It's hard to explain how truly important that car was to families in East Germany and elsewhere during the Cold War. It deserves a spot in any car museum, period. And as for the lower scores, well, what a shock. The Murano Cross Cabriolet finds itself at the bottom again. Add it all up, and here's our new chart of weekend DougScores. Anyway, now on to the daily category, starting with features. I've never given out a 10 for features before, but I have now, and it goes to the Tesla Model X. In 50 years, when all cars drive themselves, we'll look back on the Model X as patient zero. And those gull-wing doors help too. Following closely behind is the Ford Raptor, while the cars at the bottom are the usual fare. Next up is the comfort category, which I've renamed from luxury in order to try to better explain what it's actually referring to. Before this video, I'd only given out 1 10 in luxury to the Rolls-Royce Wraith, but now I'm giving out a second one to the amazingly serene and pleasant 1996 Rolls-Royce Silver Spur.
It truly feels like you're driving on a cloud.
The Bentley Bentayga comes up just behind it, and is with the very bottom of this category being reserved for the harshest and most painful cars. That would be the Isetta and the Ferret, of course, but also the Yugo, new Ford GT, the Lamborghini, the Carrera GT, and the Trabant. Next up is the quality category, which measures both reliability and quality of materials. Though the Bentley Bentayga and Porsche Carrera GT come really close with 9s, tying the Aston Martin DB11 is just behind, as is the Spider, still engaged in a death match for the... Several of the cars with lower scores are obvious, but I've also got the Ferrari F350. Its materials are nice, but not amazing, and its real problem is its reliability issues.
It's one of the least reliable cars you'd actually want to own.
Also low on this list is the Tesla Model X, which has unknown reliability, but more importantly, some really questionable panel fitment issues. Next up is practicality, which is mainly based on cargo volume, and this is where the Model X shines, easily earning a 10 out of 10 with its maximum of cubic feet. The Bentayga and Raptor also 8. Virtually every other car earning a below average score. Worst among the lot were the Isetta, of course, given that it only has one door and nowhere to put anything. The Plymouth Prowler, which has no trunk space. And the new Ford GT, which almost deserves a 0 here. 0.4 cubic feet. Finally, we get to value, where I've still never given out a perfect 10, and that remains true with this video. The Porsche 996 C4S comes closest, as it deserves to, since it offers excellent performance and Porscheability for obscenely affordable money. Other cars that scored high were the Ford Raptor, which is really a go-anywhere, do-anything vehicle for not that much money, and the Porsche Carrera GT and the 2005 Ford GT, two cars whose values shot up and have since come back down. On the low end, it's the Aston Martin DB11 that ties the Murano Cross Cabriolet for my lowest score. I love the DB11, but let's be honest, Aston Martin depreciation is absolutely crazy, worse than virtually any other brand, and if you buy this car and own it for just a few years, you're going to lose huge money, more than anything else on this list, which makes it easy to give it a 3 in this category. Anyway, add it all up and we get to the total daily score. Here it is with all the new cars highlighted, and here it is in its regular form. And that race concludes here with the DougScore. And so that's the DougScore. I had scored 22 cars before, and with this new group of 22, that brings the total to 44 cars, and there are a lot more to come. Now it's your turn. You can go argue with me. Am I right? Am I wrong? Am I a complete...